Died the last species to anger humanity. Completely removed from the galaxy. Part 1. The massive doors of the Galactic Council's judgment chamber swung open with a sound that echoed throughout the enormous hall. Ambassador Alara Reed walked forward, her steps measured and confident despite being the only human in a room filled with thousands of alien representatives. The chamber rose hundreds of meters above her, with curved walls lined with viewing platforms for different species. Some aliens floated in special atmospheric bubbles, others stood on gravity-adjusted platforms, and many sat in seats designed for their unique bodies. The 7 high counselors looked down from their elevated platform. They represented the oldest spacefaring civilizations in the galaxy, and their combined authority governed over 10,000 worlds. First Counselor Vexmore, a tall being with silvery skin and eyes that changed color with his emotions, leaned forward. His eyes pulsed a deep red. Humanity stands accused of genocide. His voice boomed through the chamber's perfect acoustics. The complete eradication of the Drakari species. 8 billion sentient beings, gone. He gestured and holographic displays activated around the chamber, showing empty planets that once teemed with life. What say you to these charges, human? The gallery erupted in whispers and clicks and electronic communications. Many species had never seen a human before, and they studied Ambassador Reed with curiosity, fear, or disgust. Reed stood still, waiting for the noise to die down. She was tall for a human with dark skin and silver-streaked black hair pulled back tightly. Her formal diplomatic uniform bore Earth's new emblem, a simple blue sphere with a white star behind it. Before I respond to these accusations, Reed's voice carried clearly. I request permission to present evidence regarding the Drakari's actions toward Earth. The High Counselors conferred briefly, their personal force fields shimmering as they spoke privately. Finally, Vexmore nodded reluctantly. Proceed with your evidence, Ambassador. Reed tapped her wristband and the chamber lights dimmed. A new hologram appeared above the central floor, showing the destruction of a human colony world named New Eden. Buildings crumbled under orbital bombardment. Forests burned. Bodies littered the streets. 3 months ago, the Drakari attacked our colony without warning or declaration of hostilities, Reed stated. 2 million civilians died in the initial assault. More images appeared. Biological weapons deployed against population centers. Civilian transport shot down as they attempted to evacuate. Hospitals specifically targeted. The council chamber grew silent as the evidence mounted. When Earth attempted diplomatic contact, Reed continued, the Drakari responded with this message. The hologram shifted to show the Drakari Supreme Commander. He stood nearly 3 meters tall, his scaled body radiating strength. 6 golden eyes blinked in sequence across his elongated face. Humans, the commander spoke, his voice translated for all present. Your species is an evolutionary mistake. We have studied your history, your biology, your potential. You are dangerous, unpredictable, you develop too quickly. We will cleanse the galaxy of your infection, world by world, until nothing remains of humanity but ashes and forgotten stories. The message ended, and Reed allowed the silence to build before speaking again. The Drakari made 3 critical mistakes, she said. First, they assumed humanity would cower or beg for terms. Second, they believed our technological development was limited to what we had publicly shared with the galactic community. Third, and most importantly, they failed to understand what happens when you corner a species that survived its own nuclear age, unified its planet despite overwhelming odds, and developed technologies that even this council hasn't yet mastered. Reed's eyes scanned the chamber, meeting the gaze of various species. You're not here to judge humanity. You're here to learn from our example. She paused, letting the tension build. The Drakari were the last species to anger humanity, and now I will tell you exactly what happened to them. The first counselor raised a hand. Ambassador Reed, are you admitting to the charges? Did humanity destroy the Drakari civilization? Reed's expression remained neutral. The Drakari no longer exist in this universe. That is factually correct, but destruction is not an accurate description of their fate. A ripple of confusion spread through the chamber. Second Counselor Brax, a massive being composed of interconnected crystal structures, leaned forward. Explain yourself, human. Either they exist or they do not. The universe is more complex than that binary, Counselor, Reed replied. But to understand what happened to the Drakari, you need to understand the events that followed their attack. The third counselor, a being of pure energy contained within an ancient mechanical shell, spoke next. We will hear the full account. Continue, Ambassador. Reed nodded and activated a new series of holograms. After the initial assault on New Eden, the Drukhari launched attacks on 3 more human colonies. Our response was immediate. The hologram showed Earth's defense fleet mobilizing. Ships of various sizes, from small fighters to massive carriers, jumped into formation around Earth's orbital stations. The Drukhari expected us to be disorganized, fractured, easy to pick off colony by colony. They didn't realize that despite our differences, humanity unites when threatened. The hologram shifted to show Admiral Thomas Reeves aboard the Earth flagship Defender. He stood on the bridge giving orders to his crew as they prepared for humanity's first major interstellar battle. We had kept certain technological developments secret, Reed continued, not out of deception, but because we understood our position as newcomers to the galactic stage. We knew many older species regarded us with suspicion. This caution proved wise. The hologram showed Earth ships appearing suddenly behind Drukhari defenses, bypassing their front lines entirely. Our quantum displacement drives allowed us to calculate precise jumps that no other species had mastered. We could appear anywhere in space without using traditional jump points. The Drukhari never saw our main attack force until it was too late. Images of the battle showed human ships outmaneuvering the larger Drukhari vessels, targeting critical systems with surgical precision, rather than causing maximum destruction. We disabled their fleet in 6 hours. We took prisoners rather than killing when possible. We still hoped for a diplomatic solution. Ambassador Reed's voice grew quieter, forcing everyone to listen more carefully. We sent a message to the Drukhari leadership offering terms for peace. Their response was to launch biological weapons against Earth itself. Her voice hardened. Weapons specifically designed to target human DNA. If they had reached our planet, every human would have died in agony. Vexmore's eyes shifted to a deep blue. How did you prevent this attack? Dr. Liana Khalid, Reed answered, and the hologram showed a woman in a laboratory surrounded by complex equipment. She had developed defensive measures that could detect and neutralize the biological agents before they deployed. But more importantly, she discovered something crucial about Drukhari psychology during her examination of captured officers. The hologram zoomed in on scans of a Drukhari brain, highlighting unusual structures. The Drukhari are connected by a form of hive mind, not complete telepathy, but a shared consciousness that links their entire species. Dr. Khalid realized that this biological feature was key to understanding their aggression. The Drukhari literally could not comprehend independent thought as we know it. To them, humanity's individualism was not just alien, it was terrifying. They saw us as a cosmic mistake that had to be eliminated. First Counselor Vexmore leaned forward again. This is fascinating, Ambassador, but it does not explain what happened to them. Reed nodded. No, it doesn't, but it explains why we had to make the most difficult decision in human history. She paused, looking directly at the Council. We gave the Drukhari one final chance for peace. They responded by attacking 3 more of our worlds. The hologram showed more scenes of destruction, more civilian casualties. Then it changed to show Earth's Leadership Council in an emergency session. That's when we activated the Omega Protocol, Reed said quietly. The chamber fell completely silent. The fourth counselor, a small being with 6 arms and translucent skin, spoke for the first time. What is this Omega Protocol, human? Ambassador Reed looked up, her eyes reflecting the holographic light. That counselor is what I came here to explain, and why the Drukhari were the last species who will ever make the mistake of threatening humanity's existence. Part 2 Admiral Thomas Reeves stood on the bridge of the Earth flagship Defender, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic battle map hovering in the center of the command deck. The ship hummed with controlled energy as the crew worked with focused efficiency. Outside the reinforced viewports, hundreds of Earth vessels formed up in precise formations, preparing for humanity's first major interstellar counterattack. All ships report ready, Admiral, said Commander Ortiz, her fingers moving across the tactical display. Quantum displacement drives are charged and locked on target coordinates. Reeves nodded, his gray eyes reflecting the stars. At 62 years old, he had never expected to lead humanity's forces in an alien war. He had spent his career preventing conflicts, not starting them. But the images of New Eden's destruction remained burned in his mind. "Commence Operation Broken Shield," he ordered. "All ships jump on my mark. 3, 2, 1, execute." In perfect synchronization, the Earth fleet vanished from orbit. No flash of light, no energy signature, simply there one moment and gone the next. The quantum displacement technology had been Earth's most closely guarded secret. Developed over decades in underground facilities, the Drukhari never saw them coming. The Earth fleet reappeared directly behind the Drukhari, defense line orbiting their forward military base on Vashes. The alien vessels, massive constructs of golden metal and crystalline weapons arrays, were facing outward, expecting an attack through the system's jump point, the only way they believed ships could enter their territory. "All vessels, target weapons and propulsion systems only," Reeves commanded. "Minimal casualties where possible. We're here to end their offensive capability, not exterminate their species." The human ships moved with precision that shocked the watching Drukhari commanders. Earth's vessels were smaller, more maneuverable, and operated independently rather than in rigid formations. They darted between the larger alien ships, firing concentrated energy pulses at specific points identified by Dr. Khalid's AI tactical system. In the Defender's science bay, Dr. Liana Khalid monitored the battle through her neural interface. The artificial intelligence she had created, named Athena, processed billions of data points per second, identifying patterns in Drukhari ship movements and predicting their responses with uncanny accuracy. "They're still using standardized battle protocols," Khalid observed, speaking to both Reeves through the ship's communication system and to her team of scientists. "Athena can predict their maneuvers before they execute them." The AI displayed its predictions as ghostly outlines on the tactical map, showing where Drukhari ships would move next. Human vessels adjusted their positions accordingly, always one step ahead. 6 hours later, the battle was over. 37 Drukhari capital ships drifted powerless in space, their weapons and engines disabled by precise strikes. 12 had been destroyed when their commanders chose to overload their cores rather than surrender. The Earth fleet had lost 8 ships, with 14 others damaged but repairable. "Begin recovery operations," Reeves ordered. "I want prisoners treated according to full Geneva Protocol Plus. Medical teams to assist injured Drukhari. Intelligence teams prepare for data extraction from their command ships." Commander Ortiz looked up from her console. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from Earth. President Alvarez wants to speak with you." The holographic display shifted to show the President of the United Earth Government. Nadia Alvarez had united the planet's nations during the most challenging decade in human history, bringing together former enemies under the threat of climate collapse and resource depletion. Now she faced an even greater challenge. "Admiral Reeves, congratulations on your victory," she said, her expression serious. "What's the status of the Drukhari forces?" "Neutralized, Madam President. We've captured their forward base with minimal casualties on both sides. We're beginning interrogation of prisoners now." Alvarez nodded. "Good. Remember, we need information more than revenge. Find out why they attacked, and whether there's any possibility for peaceful resolution. With respect, Madam President, they targeted civilians first. They made their intentions clear. I'm aware, Admiral, but we must be better than our enemies. That's what separates us from them." She paused. "Dr. Khalid's team has made a discovery you need to know about." The display split to include Dr. Khalid, who had moved to a secure room with a captured Drukhari officer. The alien was unconscious, connected to medical monitoring equipment. "Admiral, we've completed preliminary brain scans of the Drukhari commanders," Khalid said. "What we've found is disturbing. Their neural architecture includes structures we've never seen before. A biological communication network that links all members of their species." "A hive mind?" Reeves asked. "Not exactly. They maintain individual consciousness, but they're connected at a fundamental level. They share core thoughts, beliefs, and imperatives across their entire species, and one of those imperatives appears to be the elimination of competing intelligent life." President Alvarez leaned forward. "You're saying their drive to destroy us is biological?" "Instinctual?" "It appears so," Khalid confirmed. "When they encountered us, the entire species simultaneously recognized humans as a threat. Not because of anything we did, but because our very existence as independent thinkers contradicts their understanding of how sentient life should function." Reeves ran a hand through his short gray hair. "So negotiation is pointless. They can't change their nature. I didn't say that, Khalid responded, but traditional diplomacy won't work. We need to approach this differently. Over the next 2 weeks, Earth forces established control over key Drakari military installations while avoiding civilian populations. Dr. Khalid worked with her team to understand more about the alien species and their unique biology. What they discovered shook the foundations of human scientific understanding. In a secure conference room aboard the Defender, Khalid presented her findings to Admiral Reeves and a holographic panel of Earth's leadership. The Drakari neural network extends beyond normal space-time, she explained, displaying complex mathematical models. Their consciousness exists partially in what we might call subspace, a dimension adjacent to our own that allows faster-than-light communication across their species. Defense Minister Rodriguez frowned. What are the strategic implications? 2 major ones, Khalid answered. First, we can't selectively target their military leadership because all strategic decisions are shared across their collective consciousness. Second, and more importantly, this connection might be exploitable. The room fell silent. Exploitable how? President Alvarez finally asked. Khalid hesitated. Theoretically, we could use our quantum displacement technology to target the subspace frequency their minds operate on. We could remove them from our dimension entirely. You're talking about wiping out an entire species, Reeves said quietly. No, Khalid corrected. I'm talking about relocating them to a parallel dimension, not killing them, moving them somewhere they can't threaten us or any other species in this universe. The ethical debate that followed divided Earth's leadership. Commander Jackson, head of Special Operations, argued forcefully for using the technology immediately. They tried to exterminate us without provocation. They'll keep trying until they succeed or we stop them permanently. Diplomat Farid countered with equal passion. If we do this, we're no better than they are. There must be another solution. As the debate raged, the Drakari launched another attack, this time targeting Earth's largest colony on Proxima Centauri. Their forces appeared with unexpected new weapons, missiles containing biological agents specifically engineered to target human DNA. Dr. Khalid's defensive systems managed to neutralize the weapons before they could deploy, but the message was clear. The Drakari would not stop until humanity was extinct. In an emergency session, Earth's Security Council made the most difficult decision in human history. Activate the Omega Protocol, President Alvarez ordered, her voice heavy with the weight of the decision. May whatever gods exist forgive us. Admiral Reeves received the authorization codes with a grim expression. He turned to Dr. Khalid, who stood pale-faced beside him. Begin the dimensional shift calculations, he ordered. Target the entire Drakari species. Khalid nodded slowly. It will take 3 days to calibrate the equipment and ensure we don't affect any other species. As she left the bridge, Khalid whispered to herself, and I'll make damn sure they survive the transition. We're moving them, not murdering them. No one heard her words except the ship's AI, which recorded them silently in its protected memory banks. Archer Part 3. The Earth blockade ships hung in space around the borders of Drakari territory, their hulls gleaming in the light of unfamiliar stars. Each vessel maintained perfect position, quantum sensors sweeping constantly for any sign of Drakari movement. No ship entered or left the cordoned area without human authorization. In the diplomatic vessel Olive Branch, stationed at the edge of the blockade, Ambassador Marcus Farid paced the length of his office. Holographic displays showed the status of all human forces, diplomatic communications from various alien species, and most importantly, the countdown timer for the Drakari response to humanity's final ultimatum. 3 hours remained. The door slid open, and Admiral Reeves entered, looking tired but alert. Any response yet? Farid shook his head. Nothing. And I don't expect one. They've made their position clear enough. The Omega Protocol preparations are complete, Reeves said quietly. Dr. Khalid reports that all systems are calibrated and ready. We're just waiting for the President's final authorization. Farid stopped pacing and gazed out the viewport at the distant star that warmed the Drakari homeworld. Do you ever wonder if we're making a terrible mistake, Thomas? Every minute of every day, Reeves admitted. But I also remember New Eden, 2 million civilians dead in hours. The biological weapons aimed at Earth itself. What choice do we have? Before Farid could respond, his communication panel chimed. Ambassador, we're receiving multiple requests for contact from other species. The Galactic Council has called an emergency session regarding our blockade. Put it through to the conference room, Farid ordered. Admiral, you should join me for this. In the ship's conference room, holographic projections of representatives from 12 major spacefaring civilizations appeared around the table. First Counselor Vexmore's image took the central position. Ambassador Farid Admiral Reeves, Vexmore began, his eyes pulsing yellow with concern. The Council demands an explanation for your unprecedented military action against the Drukhari. You have no authority to blockade an entire species. Farid leaned forward. With respect, Counselor, we presented evidence of unprovoked Drukhari aggression against human worlds. They have made clear their intention to exterminate our species. We are acting in self-defense. Self-defense does not justify the scale of your response, argued the representative of the Tolari Confederation, a species known for their strict adherence to galactic law. Your blockade threatens the economic stability of this entire sector. Reeves spoke up. We've allowed all non-Drukhari ships safe passage after inspection. No commerce has been interrupted except with the Drukhari themselves. The Mbuzi delegate, a small being with 4 arms and iridescent skin, raised a hand. My government wishes to express support for human actions. The Drukhari have long been aggressive toward younger species. Perhaps it is time they faced consequences. The chamber erupted in arguments as various species took sides. Some feared human military power. Others saw an opportunity to form alliances with the newcomers, and many simply wanted to avoid being drawn into a wider conflict. As the diplomatic debate unfolded in space, Earth's Leadership Council met in their secure underground chamber beneath New Geneva. President Alvarez sat at the head of the table, listening as Commander Jackson presented his final assessment. The Drukhari are preparing another attack, Jackson stated, displaying tactical projections. Our intelligence indicates they've devoted all their resources to developing more effective biological weapons against us. They're willing to sacrifice their entire civilization to eliminate humanity. Defense Minister Rodriguez nodded grimly. Their hive mind makes them fundamentally different from us. They cannot comprehend our individuality or accept our existence. Coexistence may be impossible. Dr. Khalid, joining via secure holographic link from her laboratory, spoke next. I've completed my analysis of their neural network. The Drukhari have a genetic imperative toward xenocide. Their biology drives them to eliminate competing intelligent species. It's literally coded into their DNA. Is there any way to alter this aspect of their biology? Asked Education Secretary Patel. Not without essentially making them a different species, Khalid answered. And certainly not without their cooperation, which they would never give. President Alvarez closed her eyes briefly, feeling the weight of the coming decision. Are we absolutely certain there is no alternative? No possible path to peaceful coexistence? The room fell silent until Agriculture Secretary Lin spoke softly. Madam President, sometimes there is no good choice, only a choice between terrible options. If we do nothing, the Drukhari will eventually develop weapons that can destroy us. If we attack conventionally, millions will die on both sides. And if we use the Omega Protocol? Alvarez asked. Dr. Khalid answered. The entire Drukhari species will be shifted to a parallel dimension. They will survive, they will continue to exist, but no longer in our universe. They will pose no threat to us or anyone else here. And we become the first species in known history to remove another from existence, Alvarez said. From our universe, Khalid corrected, not from existence. The debate continued for hours as each member of Earth's leadership voiced their concerns, their moral qualms, and ultimately, their recommendations. The final vote was recorded in Earth's most classified archives, 7 for activation of the Omega Protocol, 2 against. In space, Ambassador Farid received the decision with a heavy heart. The communication from the President was brief. Ultimatum period will be honored. If no response, proceed with Omega Protocol at 0600 Universal Time. As Farid closed the communication, his assistant entered the room. Ambassador, we're receiving a transmission from the Drukhari leadership. Farid straightened, hope flickering briefly. Put it through immediately. The view screen activated to show the Drukhari Supreme Leader, flanked by his military council. Human diplomat, the alien said, its translated voice cold and mechanical. "We have received your ultimatum. Our response is this. We have launched attacks against 3 more of your outposts. By the time you receive this message, 10 million more humans will be dead. We will never stop until your species is erased from the galaxy. This is not war. This is correction of an evolutionary mistake." The transmission ended. Farid stood frozen, then slowly reached for the communication panel. "Connect me to Admiral Reeves and verify the status of our outposts in the Tau Ceti, Epsilon Eridani, and Procyon systems." Minutes later, the confirmation came through. All 3 human settlements were under attack by Drakari forces using biological weapons. Defense systems had activated, but casualties were already mounting. Admiral Reeves joined Farid on the command deck of the Olive Branch, his face grim. "They've made their choice, Marcus." Farid nodded slowly. "May history judge us kindly." He opened the secure channel to Earth. "Madam President, the Drakari have responded with attacks on 3 more colonies. Request authorization to proceed with Omega Protocol." President Alvarez's voice came through clearly, though her image was not transmitted. "Authorization granted, Ambassador. May God have mercy on our souls." In her laboratory aboard the science vessel Prometheus, Dr. Khalid received the authorization codes. Her hands moved across the control panels, activating the most advanced technology humanity had ever created. "Begin quantum field generation," she ordered her team. "Calibrate dimensional shift parameters to target Drakari neural frequency." Around the borders of Drakari space, specially equipped ships activated hidden systems. Quantum field generators powered up, creating an interlocking network that surrounded all Drakari-controlled space. Dr. Khalid checked the final calculations one last time, then looked at the authorization screen. A single command awaited her confirmation. She placed her hand on the scanner and spoke the activation phrase. "Omega Protocol initiated. Dimensional shift commencing in 10 minutes." As the countdown began, Khalid opened a private channel to Admiral Reeves. "Thomas, there's something I need to tell you. Something I built into the protocol that isn't in the official specifications." "What have you done, Liana?" Reeves asked, tension evident in his voice. "I've ensured they'll survive the transition intact," she answered. "And I've added a monitoring system so we can verify their continued existence. We're not killing them. I refuse to make us into murderers." Reeves was silent for a long moment. "Does the president know?" "No. Only you and I. And now we both have to live with this secret." As the final seconds counted down, humans throughout known space held their breath. The greatest ethical line in their history was about to be crossed. There was no going back. Part 4 Lieutenant Commander Javier Moreno floated in the observation dome of Research Station Galileo, watching the stars through the transparent aluminum viewport. The station orbited at the former edge of Drakari territory, now just empty space where a civilization had existed only hours before. Dozens of scientists worked at monitoring stations around him, their voices hushed as if at a funeral. "Anything on long-range sensors?" Moreno asked the sensor officer. "Nothing, sir," she replied. "No energy signatures, no communications, no mass readings. It's as if they never existed." Moreno had served in Earth's Space Force for 15 years, but nothing had prepared him for what he had witnessed. The Drakari hadn't exploded or been destroyed in any conventional sense. They had simply vanished. First their ships, then their orbital stations, and finally their planets themselves had faded from existence, becoming transparent like ghosts before disappearing completely. Not destroyed. Removed. A soft alert sounded at a nearby console. "Commander, we're receiving a priority transmission from Dr. Khalid. She's requesting permission to come aboard." "Grant immediate clearance," Moreno ordered. "Prepare the quantum physics lab for her use." 30 minutes later, Dr. Liana Khalid stepped onto the command deck. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes and her normally neat appearance disheveled after days without proper rest. She carried a secure case handcuffed to her wrist. "Thank you for accommodating me on short notice, Commander," she said. "I need to use your quantum monitoring arrays." "Of course, Doctor. May I ask why?" Khalid glanced around, then lowered her voice. "Not here. In the lab, please." In the privacy of the station's advanced physics laboratory, Khalid unlocked her case and removed a device unlike anything Moreno had seen before. It resembled a small sphere of swirling energy contained within crystalline struts. This is a dimensional resonance monitor, Khaled explained as she connected it to the station's systems. It can detect echoes from parallel dimensions that resonate with our own. I don't understand, Moreno admitted. The Drakari are gone. No, Commander, they're not gone. They're elsewhere. Khalid's fingers moved across the controls, calibrating the equipment. What I'm about to show you is classified beyond your security clearance. If anyone asks, you never saw this. The main display activated, showing what appeared to be stars and planets, but slightly wrong somehow. The colors shifted into spectrums Moreno had never seen. What am I looking at? The Drakari homeworld, Khalid answered. In its new dimensional location. Moreno stared in shock. They're alive? The Omega Protocol didn't destroy them. It was never designed to destroy them. That wasn't the plan. Khalid zoomed the image to show Drakari cities still intact, still functioning. We shifted their entire species, every individual ship, station, and planet, into a parallel dimension that exists alongside ours but can never interact with it. Does the Galactic Council know this? No. They believe we developed some form of targeted mass destruction technology. The truth is much more complex and much more difficult to replicate. Khalid sighed deeply. Humanity discovered dimensional shifting technology 20 years ago, during the Quantum Unification Project. We've kept it secret ever since. Why? Moreno asked. This could revolutionize travel, colonization, everything. Because it's too powerful, Khalid said simply. Imagine what would happen if any species could simply remove another from existence. The temptation would be too great. Wars would no longer be about defeating enemies but erasing them completely. Khalid's monitoring device beeped, displaying new data. The Drakari are adapting to their new environment. Their neural network is reconfiguring. Without other species to trigger their xenophobic instincts, they might evolve differently. Across the galaxy, news of the Drakari's disappearance spread like wildfire. While Earth's official statement simply confirmed that the Drakari threat has been neutralized, rumors and speculation ran rampant. Some believed humans had developed planet-destroying weapons. Others thought Earth had discovered how to collapse matter into singularities. A few fringe theories even suggested humanity had eaten the Drakari souls. The Galactic Council called an emergency session attended by representatives from over 300 species. Ambassador Reed presented Earth's official position. The Drakari had attacked without provocation, threatened genocide, refused all diplomatic solutions, and left humanity with no choice but to defend itself. The details of how exactly this defense had been accomplished remained classified. In the council chambers, panic and fear spread among many delegations. If humans could remove the Drakari, a species with far more advanced technology and resources, what stopped them from doing the same to others? The Talari representative spoke for many when he addressed the council. We must contain the human threat before they decide we are their enemies as well. Their power is too great to be wielded by such a young species. Ambassador, Reed watched calmly as a coalition began to form against Earth. Species that had been enemies for millennia now found common cause in their fear of humanity. Reed made no counter-argument, no plea for understanding. She simply waited until the initial outcry had run its course. Then she activated a small device she had carried into the chamber. Holographic displays appeared throughout the room, showing Earth ships positioned near key locations throughout Council space, near critical jump points, important trading hubs, even in orbit around several Council members' homeworlds. These vessels were deployed before the Drakari situation was resolved, Reed explained to the shocked Council. Not as a threat, but as a precaution. Each carries defensive capabilities only. They will take no aggressive action unless Earth is threatened. This is an outrage, bellowed the Mezar delegate. You violated our sovereign space, just as your government placed spy satellites in the Sol system 3 months ago. Reed countered smoothly. We've known about them since they arrived. We chose not to mention it until now, one by one. Reed revealed intelligence that Earth had gathered on various species' activities. The border violations, the espionage, the secret weapons development programs. Most council members sat in stunned silence as their covert operations were exposed. Humanity doesn't want conflict, Reed continued. We don't want to rule the galaxy or eliminate other species. We want trade, cultural exchange, scientific cooperation. The Drakari left us no choice but to defend ourselves. Don't make the same mistake they did. In the tense silence that followed, First Counselor Vexmore spoke carefully. What assurances can Earth provide that this capability will not be used against other species? We will agree to dimensional technology restrictions, Reed offered. Independent monitors at our research facilities, regular inspections, shared defensive technologies. But in return, we expect full recognition of our sovereignty and our right to self-defense. After 3 days of intense negotiation, the Council reluctantly agreed to Earth's terms. The human ships withdrew from their positions throughout Council space. International monitoring teams were established at Earth's research facilities, though Dr. Khalid ensured they saw only what humanity wanted them to see. 6 months after the Drakari incident, Dr. Khalid sat alone in her private laboratory beneath the Himalayan mountains. Here, away from the monitors and inspectors, she continued her real work. On her screen, the dimensional resonance monitor showed the continuing evolution of Drakari society. Without other species to trigger their xenophobic impulses, their society was changing. Their shared consciousness was developing in unexpected ways. They had begun creating art, something they had never done before. Fascinating, Khalid murmured as she recorded her observations. They're developing music. They're telling stories. Her secure communication panel chimed. It was Admiral Reeves. Liana, the Council is asking questions again. They're starting to suspect the Drakari weren't destroyed. Let them suspect, Khalid replied. They can't prove anything. The President is concerned. If they discover the truth, what can they do? Khalid interrupted. Attack us? They've seen what happens to species that try that, Reeves sighed. That's exactly the attitude we need to avoid. We can't become the monsters we defeated. Khalid looked back at her monitor where the Drakari continued their new existence, unaware they were being observed. Sometimes I wonder if we already have, Thomas. Sometimes I wonder. Part 5 Ambassador Ilara Reed stood in the center of the Galactic Council chamber, her testimony nearing its conclusion. For nearly 6 hours, she had detailed the conflict with the Drakari, from their unprovoked attack on New Eden to the final decision to activate the Omega Protocol. Now she faced the Council's judgment. The Drakari still exist, Reed revealed to the stunned silence of the chamber. They were not destroyed but relocated to a parallel dimension where they cannot harm others. First Counselor Vexmore leaned forward, his eyes pulsing with rapid color changes indicating extreme agitation. You expect us to believe this? That you simply moved an entire species to another dimension? Whether you believe it or not doesn't change the truth, Reed replied calmly. Dr. Khalid can provide scientific evidence of their continued existence if the Council requires it. Second Counselor Brax, the crystalline entity, vibrated with what passed for laughter among his kind. So humans would have us believe they possess technology beyond anything known to the oldest civilizations in the galaxy? Technology that can transfer matter between dimensions without destroying it? Yes, Reed answered simply. The chamber erupted in disbelieving chatter, clicks, and electronic communications. Some delegates openly laughed at what they perceived as an absurd human lie. Others remained silent, considering the implications if Reed spoke the truth. Even if this were possible, Third Counselor Trelna said, her energy form flickering with skepticism. It would violate dozens of Council laws regarding interference with sovereign species. The laws of survival supersede Council regulations, Reed countered. The Drakari made their intentions clear, the complete extinction of humanity. We chose the option that preserved both species. Fourth Counselor Max, the six-armed being, gestured for silence. If what you claim is true, Ambassador Reed, Earth possesses technology that threatens the balance of power throughout the galaxy. Such power cannot remain solely in human hands. Reed nodded as if she had expected this response. Earth anticipated your concerns. We are prepared to accept certain restrictions on dimensional technology development and use. From the gallery, Delegate Zorix of the Primeon Alliance rose to speak. The Primeons were among the most militaristic species in the galaxy, with a vast empire on the Council's outer rim. Restrictions are insufficient, Zorix declared. The human threat must be contained more permanently. I propose a coalition fleet to blockade Earth space until their research facilities and military capabilities are surrendered to Council control. Several delegations shouted their agreement. Reed watched as almost a third of the chamber's representatives indicated support for Zorix's proposal. A blockade would be unwise, Reed said quietly. Is that a threat, human? Zorix demanded. An observation? Reed replied. She tapped her wristband, and new holographic displays appeared throughout the chamber. The displays showed images from dozens of locations across the galaxy: Council military installations, secret research facilities, Coalition fleet gathering points. All had small objects orbiting them, devices the size of satellites that had clearly been placed without detection. What are we looking at, Ambassador? Vexmore asked, his voice tight with tension. Quantum displacement beacons, Reed explained, deployed throughout Council space during the past 3 months. The chamber fell completely silent. These beacons do not pose any direct threat, Reed continued. They are monitoring devices only, but they demonstrate 2 important points. First, that Earth has capabilities beyond what many of you believe possible. And second, that a military solution to your concerns would be problematic. Zorix slammed his fist against the railing of his platform. This is an act of war. Earth has violated the sovereignty of dozens of worlds, just as a blockade of Earth would violate our sovereignty, Reed countered. We would prefer a diplomatic solution. These beacons can be removed as part of a comprehensive security agreement. For the next 6 hours, negotiations raged across the Council chamber. Species formed and broke alliances as they debated how to respond to Earth's revelations. Some called for immediate military action despite Reed's warning. Others proposed scientific exchange to gain access to human technology. A few even suggested that Earth should be granted a permanent seat on the High Council itself. Throughout it all, Reed remained calm, neither threatening nor conceding more than necessary. Finally, a framework for agreement emerged. The Council proposes the following terms. First Counselor Vexmore announced. Earth will accept international monitoring of its dimensional research facilities. The quantum displacement beacons will be removed from Council space. A joint scientific commission will be established to study the technology under strict controls. In return, Earth will receive full diplomatic recognition, protection under Council law, and access to shared technological development programs. Reed considered the terms. We accept these conditions with one addition. Earth reserves the right to self-defense if attacked by any species, using whatever means necessary. After further debate, the Council reluctantly agreed to Reed's addition. The formal treaty was drafted and signed by all parties. As the session concluded, Reed gathered her materials while various delegates approached to speak privately. Some offered congratulations, others veiled threats, and many simply wanted to assess this human who had changed the galactic balance of power in a single day. Fourth Counselor Mex approached last. A question, Ambassador, if I may, the alien said softly. Could your people really have removed the Drakari from existence entirely if you had wished? Reed met the Counselor's multiple eyes. What matters is that we didn't. Back on Earth, Dr. Liana Khalid sat in her laboratory reviewing the final data from the dimensional monitoring system. The Drakari continued to evolve in unexpected ways. Without external enemies to focus their collective hatred on, their hive mind had turned inward, developing new forms of expression and communication. They're creating something like music, she noted in her research log, not with instruments but with patterns in their neural network. It's beautiful in its way. The laboratory door slid open as Admiral Reeves entered. It's done, he said. The Council accepted our terms. And the monitoring teams? Khalid asked. We'll see exactly what we prepare for them to see. Reeves moved to the viewport that overlooked the Himalayan peaks. Was it worth it, Liana? All the deception, all the moral compromises? Khalid gestured to her display. They're alive, Thomas. Both species continue to exist. That has to count for something. Reeves nodded slowly. President Alvarez wants to know if the dimensional technology could be adapted for colonization. New worlds in parallel dimensions, unlimited resources, no competition with other species. It's possible, Khalid admitted, but there would be risks. Dimensional barriers exist for reasons we don't fully understand yet. Consider the possibilities carefully, Reeves said. Your recommendation will shape humanity's future. As Reeves left, Khalid returned to her monitoring of the Drakari. Their civilization continued to function, unaware they had been shifted between dimensions. Were they happier now without the constant drive to eliminate other intelligent life? Was this exile actually a kind of freedom for them? Questions without easy answers. In the Galactic Council chamber, Ambassador Reed completed her final statement to the assembled representatives of 300 species. Earth comes in peace, she declared. We prefer diplomacy to conflict, cooperation to competition. We wish for nothing more than to join the galactic community as equal partners, sharing knowledge, culture, and resources for mutual benefit. She paused, letting her gaze move across the chamber. But remember the fate of the Drakari, she continued, her voice quieter yet somehow reaching every corner of the vast space. They were the last species to mistake humanity's preference for peace as weakness. There will not be another. As Reed left the chamber, conversations erupted throughout the gallery. Species that had existed for millions of years found themselves re-evaluating their position in the cosmic order. Humanity, barely a footnote in galactic history until now, had demonstrated power that changed everything. First Counselor Vexmore watched Reed's departing figure, his eyes shifting to a deep blue, the color of profound concern. They will change the galaxy, he murmured to his fellow counselors. For better or worse, nothing will be the same again. Third Counselor Trelna's energy form pulsed softly. Perhaps that is not entirely bad. The Council has grown complacent. Perhaps we needed this reminder that the universe still holds mysteries. Or perhaps, Second Counselor Brax responded, we have just witnessed the beginning of the end of our era. Outside the council building, Ambassador Reed stood alone on a balcony overlooking the artificial planet that served as the galactic capital. Stars shone above her, each one home to countless worlds, species, civilizations. Her communication device chimed with a message from Earth. Terms accepted. Protocol Starbridge authorized. Reed smiled slightly. Humanity's journey was just beginning. The dimensional technology that had saved them from the Drakari would now open doors to places no species had ever explored. And if any threatened Earth again, they would remember the Drakari, the last species to make that mistake.